Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at weather next week, 10 days. In today's video, this will take us to around the middle of October. So we're going to the middle of the month with this update. We're going to start off having a look at how September has gone down in terms of the temperature and precipitation anomalies. Have a look at the Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillation as well. So quite a lot to cram in today, and I'll get on with it for you now. So this is the mean temperature anomaly for September 2017, set against 61 to 1990, the old and cold temperature average. So that you see, set against 61 to 1990, much of England, Wales and Northern Ireland has come out, or came out, very close to average. Scotland, interestingly, came out a little bit milder than average, set against 61 to 1990 in September. If we set this against a more modern average, such as 81 to 2010, which encompasses the much warmer years of the 1980s and 1990s and last few years as well, so we come out very close to average and across the whole country. And in fact, some parts of Northern Ireland, southern southeast England, actually come out a little bit cooler than average, but no big deviation. You notice Scotland is close to average as well, set against 81 to 2010 averages. In terms of precipitation in September, so Scotland comes out generally average, away from eastern parts of Scotland where it's a bit wetter than average. Southeastern England actually comes out a little bit drier than average, but many parts of England, Wales and Northern Ireland are coming out wetter than average, set against 61 to 1990, and if we set this against 81 to 2010, no real difference in terms of precipitation. So Scotland still comes out average, away from that eastern portion of Scotland. South East England, a little bit drier than average. Much of England, Wales and Northern Ireland coming out wetter than average, particularly in the northwest. So Western Wales, Northwest England, western parts of Northern Ireland, that's where we've got the greatest anomalies to average. So overall, very close to average temperatures in September in terms of UK, and certainly on the unsettled side, particularly through those northern and western parts of the country. Been quite an interesting month, that September 2017. So this is the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. The black line here shows us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation, going right way back into the early summer. The red lines at the end, where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. So you've got go back into the summer just here. We've got the Arctic Oscillation sort of anomalies on the side, and the dates are along the bottom. This black line shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. We can see that overall we have been on the positive side with the Arctic Oscillation through the summer and into the autumn. We went a little bit negative there, and then we went very negative in the second half of September as well. But where we are right now is positive with the Arctic Oscillation, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to stay positive then into the middle of October at least. So this tells us that we've got low pressure up over the pole. Remember, the Arctic Oscillation is just an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere over the Arctic. It's not driving anything, it just tells you what the atmosphere is doing, what the setup is. And that tells you that we have got quite a lot of low pressure over the pole, haven't got much in the way of blocking. And this is often a mild signal in the autumn and in the winter. We would tend to associate a positive Arctic Oscillation with westerly and southwesterly winds being enhanced, which are going to be milder at this time of the year. North Atlantic Oscillation is very similar, so again, we've got the black line here showing where the North Atlantic Oscillation has been, and the red lines where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the North Atlantic Oscillation to go. Now, interestingly, we have had quite a long run of a negative NAO since around the second half of July, going through August. Did go a bit positive there for early September, but then in the second half of September, it went negative again. The latest, though, is that we're positive with the NAO, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to stay positive into the middle of October. So we've got both of the indexes in sync now. We've got the Arctic Oscillation positive, got the North Atlantic Oscillation positive. This is a strong signal for the Azores high to be strengthened, for low pressure around Iceland to be quite deep, and consequently to be bringing in mild west-southwesterly winds as we go through into October. So we could be in for quite a prolonged spell of mild weather here now through the next week to 10 days at the very least. These are the 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days from the Penn State University website. I've got the ECNDF here on the top and the GFS on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream running above. But let's extrapolate slow pressure, red and orange to high pressure. Look what's happening here. We've got below average heights, low pressure to the north, so around Iceland and going into Scandinavia. We've got this area of above average heights from the Azores High to the south. Quite a strong jet stream, but it's to the north, running through like that. So this is telling us what we've already seen via the Arctic and North Atlantic oscillations, which is that we're in a zonal setup now. We're strengthening the westerlies and we're bringing in mild air as well. And this is how the GFS is looking. Perfect agreement between two models. Below average heights, low pressure up to the north. Above average heights, high pressure to the south. And yes, we are bringing in that zonal westerly flow. So we are in, at least next week, 10 days, for a prolonged spell of westerliness. So expect this to be quite mild and quite unsettled. This is how the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking. Today, we are using the ensemble for Newcastle upon Tyne. Somebody has asked me to have a look at Newcastle. So this is the 30-year temperature average in Newcastle upon Tyne. I should say, this red line. So that's 30-year temperature average. We're a bit cooler than average at the moment. It's going to be quite a cold night tonight. But after that, really, it's average to a bit milder than average throughout there, going into the middle and second part of October. That's the second half of October, just there. In terms of precipitation, so a reasonable amount of dry weather coming up through the rest of this week into weekend, into next week. But perhaps a little bit more in way of precipitation coming through as we run up to the middle part of the month. Although you wouldn't say that's overly wet. Bearing in mind it's October, so we're well into autumn now. You wouldn't say that's overly wet, really. Just a bit on the unsettled side. This is how the surface temperatures and air pressure are shaping up. Again, we're using the ensemble from West Central for Newcastle upon Tyne today. So we're starting off quite chilly. That's 10 degrees just there, and we are a bit cooler than average today. We're somewhere between 10 15 Celsius. It's going to be a cold night tonight as well. Watch out for ground frost. But after that, that risk goes away. We find the temperatures, if anything, lifting up, going up towards the mid-teens Celsius, I would have thought, by next week in Newcastle upon Tyne. So it looks like it's turning quite mild. And then flatlining through into the second half of the month, somewhere between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius. In terms of minimum temperature, so that's 5 Celsius just there. And no real evidence that we're going to go under 5 Celsius. Actually, it looks like we've got some quite mild nights coming up in the next week to 10 days. So I think mild is going to be a word we'll be using quite a bit in the next week to 10 days. In terms of air pressure at Newcastle upon Tyne, so we're starting off relatively high with the air pressure at or a little bit above 1,020 millibars. Then we're going to drop down as going to next week, going to around 1,010, so that's relatively low. But then in the second half of October, a little bit of a recovery in air pressure is taking place. So this might be a more unsettled phase around the middle part of October, but then in the second half of the month we might start to build in some high pressure once again. This is how the temperature anomaly is looking then for the next week. It's going from the 5th to 13th of October, and it's coming out milder than average, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Europe. We are going through quite an extended mild period now across many parts of the UK, after many parts of Europe, I should say. After what was a rather cooler September, looks like we may be starting to revert back to a warmer than average type setup as we're going into October. Early days on that, of course. We're only at the 5th of the month. Things might change very substantially in the second half of the month, but at the moment, certainly up to mid-month, it's looking quite mild. This is how the precipitation anomaly is looking then, so it's looking drier than average for the UK and for many parts of Western Europe as well, a little bit wetter than average in the eastern part of Europe, but for UK certainly it's coming out a bit drier than average. In America, so things have flipped around a lot from where they were in the summer. You remember in the summer when we looked at these charts, it was very often significantly cooler than average in the east of America and warmer than average in the west. That's flipped quite a lot. Now it's cooler than average in the west and substantially warmer than average over in the east of the states for the week from the 5th to 13th of October. The rainfall, precipitation, western states are coming out very substantially drier on average. Other parts of America generally looking a little bit on the wetter than average side. So warm and wet for America seems to sum it up away from the west anyway in the week ahead. The UK mild and dry. Right, have a look at the GFS then finally for Monday. A little bit of a ridge building up from the Azores high, but low pressure is out to the west of the country, and that low pressure could give us some unsettled weather in the north, particularly through the early and middle part of next week. Down in the south, we are always close to this ridge that extends from the Azores into the continent, and we can expect a fair amount of dry weather for southern parts of the country, but in the north, it does look a little bit more unsettled then. We go through into the second half of next week, and no real change. That high pressure remains very close to the south, always keeping it drier there. Up in the north, it is more unsettled. There could be some rain, especially so for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Overall, it looks mild. We're dragging the air up from the Azores, so that looks quite mild there as we go through the course of next week. Into the weekend, the 14th, 15th of October. So we built a bit of a ridge for Saturday the 14th, just there. But then on Sunday the 15th, low pressure starts coming from the Atlantic. That might bring more general rain across the country, and then that could set us into a more unsettled phase in the second half of the month. Although even going out beyond daytime, we've gone up to Tuesday 17th of October now, and even then we still have high pressure across France, close to southern parts of the country. Low pressure is all out to the north and the west, and so it remains mild. And for the north there will be rain at times, but for the south you'd afford a reasonable amount of dry weather continues. It's not until we get right to the very end of today's GFS run, but it does turn much more unsettled then. That's properly unsettled, because that's a very, very long way out. You notice we are putting down much cooler northwesterly winds now with a deep area of low pressure in the North Sea. So there's gale force winds, it's quite cold, and all areas there will be having showers or longer spells of rain. But that's right up the end of this GFS run. This is on Saturday 21st of October, so a really long way out. Obviously very, very unreliable time frame stuff. Essentially for the next week to 10 days away from Scotland and Northern Ireland, where it will be more unsettled, it's looking relatively dry and mild with the GFS. And finally we're going to finish with the east end we have. So we have high pressure to our southwest. On Monday, low pressure is out to the north and west. Probably some sort of band of rain moving southwards and eastwards on Tuesday. And then going to this flat westerly flow, zonal, very zonal, that on Thursday, the 12th of October. Probably bringing showers, long spells of rain into the north and west. But for the south and the east, I would have thought not too much in the way of rain. That's how we go up towards day 10. Still keeping it unsettled by day 10, which is Sunday the 5th of October, starting to build up this ridge of high pressure from the southwest. So you're waiting for some cold weather. It certainly looks as though there's not much on way. It will be a bit of a cooler night tonight with some ground frost, but overall not much in way of cold weather. It looks like the first half of October is shaping up now to be quite mild, with westerly and southwesterly winds ruling the roost. And then where things go into the second half of the month, that's very much is open to speculation. The GFS there did turn things significantly wetter and colder in the second half of October, but that's Fantasy Island stuff. It's right at the very extended range of the model, so in the more reliable time frame it looks relatively mild up to mid-October, and reasonably dry as well down in the south. Will be some rain at times up in the north, but overall nothing too dramatic, certainly up to the middle part of the month. Right, that's brought you up to date with everything. A little bit of an extended one today. I wanted to throw in all of that AO and NAO stuff. But that's it for today's video. Tomorrow is JMA Friday, so we'll have a month-ahead look ahead with Japanese CFS tomorrow. Will there be any signs of colder conditions then? Come back tomorrow for the next instalment. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.